some young people to come up and share their stories to talk about what we should work toward and what we should avoid. So can I ask those people who are involved to come on up or come on down as we want. Three. Cannon's coming. Cool. I'll just each person once gets to a brief name and pronoun intro, and you can dive in with the gays and names.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I prefer she.
Hi, I'm Danny, I prefer she.
I'm Ace, I prefer he.
I'm Bonnie, I prefer she.
So, open to all four of you, and we can get to you on to share those experiences.
Mental health, a huge problem with the community. Being involved in a lot of support groups, I've been able to witness the severity of mental health issues across all ages. With mental health issues, obviously I've had quite a few in my life, and I've had anxiety and depression issues over the last decade or so, and I've found going to a GP and talking about these issues that maybe this is maybe a thing of the past. It's probably improving now, but I don't found it's just really medication was the only option that was provided to me. Yeah, I just think there was a real dismissal of surrounding factors, and there wasn't really any reflexivity on behalf of the medical professionals. They didn't really look at have any empathy and sort of understand if I was going through these mental health problems, where would they be coming from, and how could I help this service user. That's one thing. Yeah.
I guess the worst experiences are the 3 GPs I went to initiate my transition process, and just them sitting there not really knowing what to do, and just giving me, alright, here's a referral, go away. So I never really followed up the process from any of those, just because I thought the GP contact or working within the medical framework, I was like, I may as well get the support that's supposedly offered to me if I don't have the option to have the consent process, which is the alternative model. So I guess I felt that was important.
Well, one of my worst experiences was I went to see my local doctor, and I told him that I was thinking about going on hormone tablets and that, and he just told me, he was like, oh no, don't do that, are you sure about this? And just, he like, felt like, his needs didn't have me, and like he basically printed out all these like pieces of papers from the internet and like sent me to this counsellor, and pieces of paper don't really mean nothing. Like I need talk to, like what I mean, not like oh, here's all this stuff, and the first time I saw this counsellor, she was like she didn't know what she was doing, like her needs didn't satisfy what I was looking for and stuff. So yeah, that would be one of my worst times.
Mine was kind of similar to Danny. When I was a child, I was severely bullied from the time I was about 5, 6 years old. First time I was called a transsexual, I was in grade 1. And so I was constantly like bashed and bullied and earned a t-shirt or boy girl at school. And when I was 10, my mum asked the paediatrician if we could look into getting tests run to see if I was either an intersex person or if I had transgender issues and things like that, because my mum was a very open-minded person, and she would have been prepared to raise me as a transgender child from an early age since like puberty hit. And the doctor just dismissed it and said like, oh, it's not a possibility, like it's not something you should consider looking into. And instead I was put into counselling and put onto a full adult prescription for Zoloft from the time I was extremely young. I think I was 9 or 10 when I was put on Zoloft. And it just made me more depressed as a child, and then essentially put me into a denial spiral of, oh, like I can't be what these feelings I'm having inside of me are because the doctors have told me it's not possible. Like they just didn't want to look into it at all because it was more comfortable for them. And so, yeah, I essentially hated myself throughout my teenage years because I didn't know it was actually possible to be a transgender person. I just thought that gay was okay and I wasn't okay with myself for being gay type thing. So, yeah, it's led to a lot of confusion that like I now feel like I could have been prevented. So I think that's probably the worst experience I've had.
The worst medical experience. I don't know if it's the worst one, but like I suppose like the surgery that I received when I was 12 in order to remove my gonads probably is the worst one because I thought I knew what was going on at the time, but I kind of didn't know, and I've got my records through Freedom of Information and there's my signature on the line. And just, I suppose the terminology that was really used was really negative. It was really like using lots of like terms like abnormal, and I was told that I would I'd never be able to have proper sex, and I'd never, unless I did what they said. And so that was kind of like, that really set up a lot of blocks for me. I actually ended up kind of shutting down my whole sexual being for most of my teenage years, and really just focused on the brain, which became like a brainiac, trying to psychically destroy everyone. But, yeah, that was pretty bad. I remember, I talk about this a bit in the documentary, but I do remember this one particular instance when that was about to happen, where this doctor who did the surgery came in to the room and with his cohorts of lots of people in white coats, and they did a physical examination of me with my legs up, and he did say that he was going to put his hand inside for me before he did it, which was kind of, and are you okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with it. Anyway, did it, and I actually involuntarily farted whilst he put his hand inside of me, so I suppose that creeps up towards one of the better. But it's still pretty bad.
Maybe an experience. It's not really a bad experience, but it just kind of, I have the good GP and they're following me through this process and being really supportive. But one time I went in and I asked for a medical certificate, and I was at uni, so all my stuff happens sort of at Fitzroy. I go to uni in Frankston, so I do a lot of travel. And I got there and I read it just before I was going in, and the thing I said, she on it still, he wrote my medical certificate and he used that pronoun, so I was like, hurt my feelings.
Next thing, issue I had was a lack of information. When I first started my journey in Canberra, which is, I guess, like, it's really good, the forums here in Geelong, because it's a similar size population, with similar services in the area. When I went to see the GP, I was just offered like an information booklet, which is just simply a print-off of popular American website. In this print-off, it listed advice on how to walk and how to talk and change your behaviours, basically. And that's a definite no-no. And another thing with this GP, he really didn't have a lot of specialist specialisation in the area, but he claimed to have specialisation in the area. And I was prescribed a medication which was a combination of estrogen and progesterone, and for a year I took this medication not really knowing, just being really naive, not knowing there was only other medications out there, and I suffered really severe depression on top of the depression that was already existing, and it brought me back to drug use problems I'd suffered in the past. So it's just really important for GPs to not just maybe go to one session or to really get information from a lot of sources. Another issue I've had here in Melbourne, when I went through the approval process for hormones really easily in Canberra, I went to see a psychologist, and I saw her for 3 meetings. Those 3 meetings took place in a period of 2 months, and she gave me the go-ahead to start hormone therapy, and I saw the GP, and obviously that started. Here in Melbourne, when I moved down here, I found people are waiting 3 or 4 months. They're still only able to go to 3 or 4 appointments, but these appointments are 4 to 6 weeks apart, because there's 2. You have to see a psychiatrist here in Melbourne, and not just a psychiatrist, but a specialised psychiatrist. And I'm really amazed at the monopoly that exists in psychiatry in the screening and approval process here in Victoria. I think it's ridiculous that people in some parts of remote Victoria will have to travel 4 hours to come to an appointment. Some of these psychologist appointments, they might be Medicare, under Medicare, but it's still expensive. And for young people who are unemployed, unemployment's a big problem in the transgender community. It's a real issue.
Another bad moment that I recall was I went to see this. I got assessed by this person. Like, I don't know what their name is, but I got assessed by them, and they basically told me that to my understanding is that I'm just a man that dresses up in girls' clothes, and I thought to myself that that's really hurtful to hear from someone, and I know that I am a man, but I feel like I've got a woman's body inside, if that makes sense, and
I'm getting a similar story. And the doctor's trying to get checked up for some tonsillitis and having the chest examination, told by a female doctor that I should not be wearing a binder because it's detrimental to my health and could damage my breast tissue and all these kinds of things. And just the fact that a medical practitioner felt the need to tell me that I shouldn't be doing something that makes me more comfortable as a person and doesn't actually cause any pain or struggle or physical harm to me at all, just made me feel really uncomfortable in that situation when I came to seek help for something that was completely ungender related, and had that issue brought to light when it wasn't something that I was wishing to talk about at the time, and that became the focus of the examination rather than the actual, can I please have some antibiotics? And yeah, I thought that was kind of inappropriate. So I think, yeah, sometimes if, yeah, like she was probably like, she had like a different religion to like, you know, Western medical and stuff like that, so whether she didn't approve of it because of her background culture or not, might be a contributing factor. But I think that, yeah, if you're in the medical profession, you should be open to everything that falls under medical, not just like your own personal beliefs. If you have a biased opinion, keep it to yourself. Don't share it with your customers that are like paying for your services. Yeah, so I just think that could save a lot of embarrassment and like uncomfortable feelings for the trans and intersex community.
I suppose most recently I've started a new sort of hormone replacement therapy arc in my life after really not doing much hormone replacement therapy throughout my life because I totally hated the medical institution and everything they stood for and the fact that I trusted them and that they did me over. But then consequently I had a lot of health issues that had arisen from not actually having proper hormone replacement therapy, so I decided to get on top of it. And I went to this endocrinologist in Brisbane. He's a bit of an old boy, like big sort of walnut desk, with like, you know, certificates on the wall and stuff. Those environmental cues were really sending me off at that particular time. Nice little examining table, obligatory like chest check and stuff like that. Anyway, but like he was just like, all right, so you're a woman. We'll just put you on estrogen progesterone mix, which like was the pill. So like a 16 times stronger dose of estrogen than I've ever been prescribed, because there's that real thing of like doctors and endocrinologists prescribing post-operation AIS women with post-menopausal level of estrogens, and that's kind of been the common vibe that I've gotten. So like I went from like 0 to like 16 in like overnight, and my breast grew 3 sizes, so painful. I've never been so depressed in my life. It was really horrible. And then when I asked the doctor about it, I was like, oh, isn't there like some issue with like taking the pill and smoking, you know, because I've been smoking for a long time. It was just like, oh yeah, it can cause blood clotting. We should just stop smoking. I was like, wow, like, that's not really addressing my concern. Anyway, I got a new endo, it got better.
I guess I've just been thinking as we're getting a bit deeper into this conversation a little bit about kind of the impacts of these experiences when you go see these medical professionals. I guess in terms of my own experience, I didn't approach this as an 18-year-old or maybe someone younger, but sometimes I imagine what that experience might be like when my perceptions of, you know, society has the medical industry or whatever on this pedestal and they're the be-all and the know-all, and how having these experiences of being told, no, that's not who you are, can influence people detrimentally and just sort of, you know, prolong the torment, and how hard it is to even disclose something that's such a personal thing to a medical professional when, you know, should they even be privileged with that information, or yeah, and just so the immense power structure that's around what they have, and the sort of unresponsiveness to what's being vocalised to them, and it's a situation.
I've had a similar experience with a psychiatrist. We've been to 5 different psychologists and psychiatrists in the last couple of years, and I've only had a really good experience with the one psychologist, and thank God that I did have her as my psychologist for over a year and a half. But here in Melbourne, I've had experience with a couple of psychologists where there's a real power unbalance, and you know, they sit above you. There's really a lot of pressure in the type of questions they ask, and the real structure in the questions asked, because it's really impersonal. And another thing I've had with the screening process for beginning actually getting surgery, which I've gone through that process to get the approval for that, and I've found where I've had similar mental health issues to other people in the transgender community, I've gone through the process really easily, and I think the health professionals are putting too much weight on presentation, and the fact that I might live easier as a female than some of my peers, and it's just it's sort of this historical thing that you can't pass, then you don't really know, you can't really be that gender. Yeah, so I think that still exists, and that's a real worry.
Yeah, I don't have much bad things, but I've got one good one. One time I met this other doctor in Albania, and yeah, he was real he was real nice, and he was using pronouns and stuff, and yeah, I don't know, I just like that doctor, but I just can't get back in contact with him when I really want to. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what else to say, but yeah.
Kind of the experience that I've had with reception. I have a preferred name on my record at my GP, and so I've had to change GPs a couple of times. I live up near Shepparton, about 40 minutes out of Shepparton, and at my GP in town, I have customers who come into my store. I work in a clothing store. They come into my store on a regular basis, and they work at my GP, and so I don't often get served by them, but sometimes I've had other receptionists while they're around use my birth name rather than my preferred name, and I get weird looks, and I've had weird looks since I was 5-6 years old, and judgmental, and even if they're not judging me, even if they're just glancing, it feels like they're staring daggers because of their past of brutality that I've had that come with weird looks. And yeah, I think if there was some way, my doctor uses my preferred name and he calls it out in the waiting room. I have had other examples, times where I've been to small town doctors and they have just completely ignored the fact that we've asked to use a different name, and called out my female name rather than my chosen name. But yeah, I think that if there was some way to integrate into the systems that people had preferred names that could be used, it would save a lot of uncomfortable feelings and make feel more welcome, just in general. And yeah, I think using pronouns and stuff like that, you were saying, it makes a world of a difference to make you feel much more comfortable if you're being treated as if you want to be treated, not feeling as if there's another situation where you're going to be feeling awkward and you're not welcome, and oh god, these people are judging me. And yeah, I think if that could be taken into consideration, that would be a huge improvement.
really bad things that shifted towards a good thing was he never offered any type of counselling or psychosocial support at all. We grew up in a regional centre in Queensland and had to travel to Brisbane in order to see specialists, and there was zero follow-up. And there's obviously a lot of trauma that happened as well, and trauma from my parents as well, like having to interface with all of that. And I actually only this year kind of started my own path into like seeing psychiatrists or whatever. But I've been kind of like counselling my parents ever since, and consequently I ended up gravitating towards a support group, and just that I kind of wish that I had been offered the opportunity to hang out with other people that had similar experiences, gave huge amounts of empathy, knew were not judgmental because they'd all been judged before and they knew how shit that was. And that was so awesome that I hung out with those people for long enough, and now I'm the president of the organisation. So that's kind of, that's me. And I suppose that the other cool thing that happened as a result of the support group was that we asked doctors to come in and present to us, and there's nothing cooler than being in a group of people who support you, have similar circumstances, similar feelings, and having a doctor and interrogating them on issues of community, because you're with your crew, you've got support, and you can get a lot of information, and a lot of doctors are really open to that. They're really, because it's a two-way dialogue, and a lot of times, and it's not in a hospital usually. It's in neutral territory. Well, not really neutral. It's in it's on our turf. Yeah.
I just wondered if anyone wanted to know what kind of questions I ask when you go through the assessment. I have a few that kind of stand out to me when I went through the process. So keep in mind, Ash sort of said there's all these waiting periods, and then you get to see a psychiatrist, and you go there, you have to pay $250 every time out of your own pocket. So it ends up, it's a lot of money. And that's definitely, I had to save up to go through this process. Every time you get to the next stage, you're like, am I there? And you're like, no, there's another step, and another step, and another step. And they just ask you all these questions, and I don't know, some of them, the one that really stands out to me, when you're feeling interrogated and they ask these questions, and one was like, so what's the difference between a trans man and a butch lesbian? And, how do you see yourself in this spectrum or whatever? And I was just like, you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I've definitely never identified as a butch lesbian or anything like that, but that's kind of they put this framework on you, and I guess you're paying a lot of money, so you'd want it to be a bit responsive. I might also sort of say a good experience about interacting with the psychiatrist. The person that I saw, I don't know, I felt a lot of pressure to do all these things, say yes, I want to be a manly man with big muscles and chop wood. That's pretty much the kind of pressure that you get the sense that you have to jump through these hoops. And I guess over time I've lost my tolerance for sort of going outside of who I am and how I express myself. So I just sort of said to him, I actually feel like a really effeminate male, and maybe being more masculine is a way for me to explore my femininity. So for me that was a complete leap of faith, and he caught me, and it was really great and really worked with me on this. And so I really have a lot of trust for this person, and expressing my needs and things, and that's the first, I don't know, probably the best medical interface interaction I've ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem with these, the poor interaction that exists between psychiatrists and gender diverse people in Victoria is the issue that it just there's a limited amount of specialists out there, and you don't have a choice if you don't get along with certain psychiatrists. Then yeah, you really have the process is going to be a lot harder for you, because you know that bond really is such an important thing to getting the understanding, and that's one of my good experiences is the time I spent seeing my psychologist in Canberra, and she was amazing. She didn't judge me. She worked with me, sort of like it was a totally empowered service delivery, and she's inspired me to help other people like myself. Yeah, she never sort of blamed me. She explained how much social pressures are out there, and sort of let me have a bigger picture, and that's really great. I've had some other really good experiences as well. My current GP, the Northside Clinic, he's pretty amazing, and it's the first GP I've had who I feel is actually has more knowledge than myself, and that's really nice to go to your GP and have faith in them. Another thing, I'm playing roller derby at the moment, and it's really good to have a physical health outlet, which I think people in the transgender community do really struggle to have an outlet sometimes. Sporting teams and that sort of thing. Really, if you want to play your preferred gender, then you have to have had surgery, and then wait a couple of years after that. Yeah, basically I tried to play women's Australian football down in Melbourne, and tried many different clubs asking if I could come and play, and I was just pretty much refused because I'm preoperative. So I found roller derby, and I'm lucky I have, because it's been such a good outlet. And sporting teams, not everyone's in the sport, I mean, that's fine, but it's more getting away from being isolated, and it's such a good outlet for that. And the other thing I had was when I was in Canberra, Agenda ran a community inclusion project which ran over 4 or 5 months, and they're doing it all year round now, and it's basically a couple of events every month, different interests, so covering the interests of everyone within the group, and everyone was able to go and sort of experience new things and new ways of, because when you're going through heavy depression and gender dysphoria, it's finding an outlet to distract yourself or really indulge yourself in, because so many of the people I've met through support groups, they're not working, and just there's too much time to just work through things in your mind, these negative patterns of thought just continue. So yeah, it was really good to have an inclusion project and build friendships, and I got a lot out of that, and I think I would encourage every support group and every community group to try and do something similar. AGA is such a brilliant organisation. I encourage any organisation out there to look at how AGA do things, not just on the political side, the advocacy side, but also in the social inclusion and what they do for the actual community members.
I don't have much encounters with doctors and stuff, because I'm in a small town, and there's not much doctors and stuff in that field, and it's not like I'm rich and I can just go see all these people. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite hard, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that I've said everything that you need to hear, or what, yeah.
I think a good experience that I've had was I managed to get onto a doctor, a psychologist who didn't have a huge waiting period. I spent 10 months of last year waiting to hear back from doctors. I moved from Sydney to live on my mum's farm, like a bit north of Shepparton, because I thought it would be productive to have support and family and things around when taking my journey, like the first steps. So I didn't really want to be working too hard. I just wanted to take some time to focus on myself now that I figured out who and what I want to be. And so I tried to contact one line of doctors, and they spent like over 5.5 months telling me that they will get back to me soon. And I had to have like my story prepared and all this kind of stuff and read through all the information. And they sent me out the packs like 4 different times. We called on 4 different occasions, and they continued to use my birth name rather than my proper name. And just like it was a long process of when am I going to hear back just to even know if I'm getting an appointment. And then I managed to get onto a doctor in Rooney Ponds who just pretty much put me in for an appointment like at first possibility. I had to wait a couple of weeks, and then I had 6 weeks of 3 appointments, and I did have to travel to Melbourne for it, but it just made me feel really comfortable, like straight away, like when we started the interaction. It was just let me know that 99% of the people that he sees in regards to gender gets to take the path that they want to take, because for him it's not about the medical side of it, it's about the personal help that the person needs. And if they come to him with these issues and these feelings, it's obviously something that is present. It's not something that he wants to talk loops around and try and find ways of way, feeling like that kind of stuff. You would take those 3 appointments to get to know you and get to know where you're at, and if you're ready for the next step of hormones and things like that, then that's what you go to. And so after waiting for good 5-6 months of doing not much, I finally, after 6 weeks, got onto hormones, and it was the greatest thing in the world. And I was like, this was actually really freaking easy. Why isn't it just this easy for people? And I understand that some people aren't prepared and aren't ready, and they do need the extra help. But there are people out there that are ready and waiting and willing, and they just don't have the resources. So I think that if it was possible for Danny, I have the ability to travel to Melbourne every 6 weeks to pick up my prescriptions, and every 3 months to see my doctors and stuff like that, and have the money to pay $220 to see a psychiatrist on the day type thing. Whereas if it was a little bit closer to home, for us, a train ticket to the city is minimum $20 one way. That's ridiculous. And if you don't drive, petrol's expensive. So I think being able to have help a bit closer to home would be brilliant. But just people that are willing to understand it from our point of view rather than the medical point of view is it feels amazing to just feel like you were included in your own journey.
So my doctor at the moment is awesome. He's really great. Everything about his zones really well. You walk into it and they've got jazzy music playing, and it's got big glowing pictures of orchids all over the wall, which he took the photographs of. There's lots of LGBTI pamphlets everywhere, and it's kind of it's a LGBTI focused clinic, and he's actually just a sensational being generally. Does a lot of work on communication and healing, so he does counselling as well, and does counselling for anger, drug abuse, sexual health in prisons, with men in prisons. And it's just actually really awesome. And his major thing, which is really cool, is really all about what I want and talking to me and honouring my needs, and always listening and always listening to everything that I say, and providing the information that I need. So, the end part of this, or the next part of this hormone journey that I've just been on is decided that I wanted to stop taking the estrogen and progesterone because it was making me feel like shit and like changed my body. I didn't really recognize my body anymore. It was really weird. And like wanted to actually start taking testosterone because that was like what my body wouldn't have been producing normally if I had not had surgery that was given to me. And so in order to do that, I didn't want to like mess around with any of the old boy mentality and have to do that stuff. So I actually ended up contacting because I know how great support groups are, I contacted the transgender support group in Brisbane and asked who they recommended as an endocrinologist. And I got that guy's name and I went and saw him. And he was like, you know, part of the benefit of being intersex, if people actually know what intersex is, as a clinician, is that they get really excited. They're like, wow, you're and like, so like, he was actually really stoked to have me there, and I was really stoked to have me there, and we had this thing going on, and he was like, I want to try this thing. He was like, why not? It's only testosterone. I was like, it's only testosterone. Yeah, it's really great. He was like, oh, I don't know the dog. Can you like, can we try and get this on, like, you know, can we get this on PBS or something? He's like, I don't know, I'll try and find out. Really like in there and rung them up, and I'm like, they did a check, and I was sitting there and ticking time when they were checking their system, and they came back and was like, oh, you know, there's a thing, you know, female, you know, female, and he's like, yes, but she's chromosome male. And he was winking at me, and I was like, oh yeah. And then they were like, well, no. And then the peer person at the pharmaceutical benefit scheme advised him to tell me to change my gender to male so I could get testosterone on the PBS. And he hung up the phone and we had this big laugh, and I was like, I'm actually transgendering back towards a male pseudo-hermaphrodite. Yeah. And then it's bought privately. And if you do things privately, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It's a pretty amazing thing. Like, you've got the cash, you can do what you want. But that's not really helpful to the most marginalised crew who need access to those services. Yeah. But testosterone is really awesome. I can really, I'm really into it. I understand now why there's been a patriarchy for so long.
So I guess I might just bring it back to the pathways. So I guess from the discussion, there are some pathways that are existing, but they're really exhausted and above capacity. The other thing that sort of I think about in terms of these pathways and people who live in rural areas or in other states where they have to commit to relocating or whatever, I guess I'm concerned about these communities losing their valuable members, and people shouldn't have to travel to access this, and they shouldn't have to change their communities. They need the support of their communities, and these rural regional towns need valuable people in them, like us. So I guess it's good that we're here and we can start looking at this, and it's exciting to create pathways and to be a part of something like that, but also to make sure that we're looking outside of our own backyards and making sure that our friends are taken care of too.
I'll just say that starting estrogen was amazing for me, and I think just it really, if someone's in good health and they're obviously of a stable mind, it's really restricting, treating it like it's a huge thing. Really, I don't know, just it solved all of my mental health issues basically. I feel amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would just concur that starting hormones is like probably the best thing that has happened to me, because like my posture improved a lot, my confidence I have belief in myself. I finally feel like I'm good at things when I attempt them. I always denied that I was ever anything. I was just jack of all trades, master of none type thing. No ambition, because I didn't believe that the person I was could achieve something. But now that I've achieved becoming a new version of myself that I actually identify with and feel okay with, I feel like I'm good at things that I do. And yeah, I feel like I can see a career ahead of myself and a life and relationships and possible families, and yeah, it's not dark and gloomy anymore. It's a bright kind of situation. I no longer feel alone. I know probably more than 10 trans people that I converse with on a weekly to monthly basis, and I think that getting myself into treatment and knowing other people that are doing the same thing feels amazing. So sense of community through help is amazing. And testosterone is brilliant.
Yeah, hormones are really good. Getting the right hormones, I suppose, is really the thing, and being able to actually try a few things without too many. There's obviously there's always repercussions, but getting it right is really awesome. It feels really great. Everyone knows when you get it right in the pathway, because everyone is happy. Everyone in the exchange is happy. The doctors are happy they've done something good. The patient's happy because they're aligning themselves with their inner mission. Yeah.
I might add something about how my life has changed too. Being seen and being acknowledged for who you are, it's pretty amazing. And my life, I feel a lot more passionate about things now, a lot more alive, and I guess, it's kind of life begins from here, in these moments when people can see who you are. There's nothing like it, I guess, and it's unfortunate that it takes so long, because, time keeps going.
I just think that, I'm in such a good place now, and I know so many other people who are in the same process in their transition as I am, and their lives are going places, and there's such in such an improved situation to what they were before they started their journey. And I just think there's maybe too much weight placed on how someone is when they first present to health professionals, and the emphasis should be on where they could be. And
I'll say a couple of things first myself. There are a lot of negative experiences in there, but I personally just found that an absolute ultra gold mine of information. A personal comment, definitely hashtag Auntie Sally on that one. It's just fantastic. Questions, comments before we go to lunch? Yes, hands flying up. Brendan.
Yes, I find it a struggle that the young ones today still face so many of the hurdles that we faced more than 15 years ago. And I wonder what role there could be for more mentoring, and particularly accompanying people on some of those difficult medical visits, and potentially being able to hold the medical professional to account in a different sort of way. Because we've been there, we've done that, we've had all of that crap. We know that there is another way. We know that that's a simplified version or or whatever. I just wonder whether or not necessarily people as old as I am, although I'd be willing to do so, but people that you can look to that are ahead in the... And I wonder whether or not we've got a role to work with the medical professionals to create that framework so it is acceptable to bring a mentor with you into an appointment. So, go for it.
I guess in terms of working with a lot of the young people through Y-Gender, often I guess it seems like people are going through this journey for the first time and everyone's having the mistakes and the trials and tribulations. It's not like it's becoming streamlined and there's a massive amount of information being exchanged online, but when people are actually doing these steps, it doesn't really seem to change that people are still having these really negative experiences. I've often thought about how mentoring could play a role because I guess a lot of the young people do present and do have a lot of sort of mental health issues and big issues with confidence, especially if they don't have support from family, things like this. And I guess I don't know how it would look, but from a wide gender perspective, having links and having people that people can talk to that are maybe outside of the peer group, because sometimes the conversations can just sort of be a bit one-tracked and lose a bit of perspective, would be really good, I think.
I think that's a great idea. I've just had GP consultations where I would have loved to have had someone who had more experience be there with me, because you can go on the internet and you can talk to other people and get their advice and that sort of things. But I've had quite a few occasions where the GP will just say, no, that's not a good idea, or try this, and it's just like, okay, there is that power imbalance still, and I'll just be like, okay, well, I'll do it anyways. Yeah, really, I don't know how to look either, but it's great idea.
I agree, like the mentoring system would be brilliant. Like I found myself finding most of my information off of a Tumblr blog that was very detailed. A friend in Poland who is about 2 years ahead of me in progress, and he's detailed his transition from pre-T, step by step, everything from photos of his hair growth to his muscle mass to his exercise routine to his diet to how his family perceive him, how his school and his friendship circles have changed. Everything, like, it's amazing to see. Like, it would be a lot more helpful to have somebody closer than Poland with that kind of information. And like I have been able to interact with him via social media and networks and things like that. But yeah, to have somebody that would actually be able to come along instead of just having to sit in the waiting room on Tumblr trying to formulate questions based off of another person's experience, I would think would be very, very helpful. Even just to have like a buddy system type thing. I've been where you've been and it's okay, it's normal. Like just a reassurance thing would be kind of amazing, because you can feel quite lonely. Because I knew that Danny was in Shepparton, but I didn't actually really interact with Danny until yesterday. But knowing that there's other trans people out there makes you feel comfortable interacting with them. Like I feel, I don't know, like a whole lot safer at the moment than I do going home to Shepparton, just to know that I could probably go and talk to Danny now. It would be brilliant to have somebody that could stand by you and I'm having this issue with this. What was your experience? Did you feel this way too? Or just reassurance.
Yes.
Gosh, questions everywhere. I'll go with Israel first, but I've got 1, 2, 3 at least after that.
I've got maybe a long comment. Can people hear me? So you mentioned a lot of problems with like psychiatrists and endocrinologists and people like assessing, etc. There's actually no legal requirement, as Bonnie mentioned, to do that to get hormones. And there's not really any requirement in Medicare either. As Bonnie was saying, for the PBS, so the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, in order for that to get paid, it has to match your legal gender, sex.
It doesn't anymore. It doesn't anymore. That does. Yeah.
For PBS.
Oh, for TBS it does. For
PBS.
MBS it doesn't.
Right, for MBS.
MBS it does.
So for PBS, it's have to match. So in order to do that, the Commonwealth Guidelines on Recognition of Sex and Gender requires a statement witnessed, not assessed, by a medical professional or a registered psychologist. The problem is that a lot of people gatekeep and they assess and not witness. And so I wanted to know how many of you were told that you've got to go this particular pathway, or you've got to have these assessments, and things like that.
He's in medical school. They have legal lectures. I can't believe that they're telling you this information. It's really offensive that you get told this stuff. That's really more restrictive than it has to be.
Yeah, personally, I was, like I said, I had to wait like a good sort of amount of months before the doctor contacted me, just in regards to getting a first appointment to be seen in general. And then after that, for the psychologist I see now, I had to have 3 appointments before starting hormones, and they had to be like in the space of 6 weeks, just to formulate like a foundation with my psychiatrist. And that was what I was told had to be done. After that, it was extremely easy. It was literally like 3rd appointment is like a referral to an endocrinologist and a GP that can give you a prescription for testosterone. And that made it seem heaps easier, but I was told that I had to go through a process.
I just want to say that like when I actually went and saw this endocrinologist, I'm pretty like versed up and wise about like how to speak, what to say. I've got my information straight about my own condition. I'm like kind of very knowledgeable about it. I have a lot of knowledge that I watched that thing that I just kind of went bang, 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 bang. And he was like, right, you know your information and stuff. So like obviously he obviously assessed very quickly that I knew where I was at. So I had a lot of like pre-existing knowledge and a lot of confidence that I brought to that sort of scenario. So I think that's probably contributed to why it was like, yeah, sure, straight through.
Yeah, I went, obviously, I said that I started in Canberra and just the difference between the systems is just what I see the difference between the systems was amazing. And this information, I don't know, I can't remember actually if I was told by a GP that actually I have to go to see it. Actually, I think I was told by my GP for instance, for a surgery approval here in Victoria. So to me, that might be a different thing. I have to go to see a psychiatrist. But Southern Health really has such a monopoly over this, and it's in their interest to keep this misinformation around the hormone approval process in place, and it's in their financial benefit, and that they are the main advisory to the Victorian state government, and this need to be changed.
I kind of feel like at the start when I first began thinking about it, maybe that's what I thought. But there's a lot of information, that's not only information I got from the GP, that's primarily the information that's sort of on all the F2M websites and forums and things too. So in a way, that kind of perpetuates the misinformation. I guess it's hard when everyone's exchanging so much information, but maybe not everyone has the expertise, and sometimes you forget where that information came from, and it just becomes its own thing, I guess. I don't know.
But 2 questions here.
I suppose when anyone's working with young people, that probably one of the first questions we need to always ask young people, and I'm probably going to ask this of you now, is what your aspirations for the future are, and do you now feel you're on pathways to make those happen?
Well, I finished uni in 3 weeks to be an occupational therapist. I definitely would love to continue and do some project work on this topic, and just passionate about the rights of people getting ourselves out there. So I guess that enables that, and I'm in a good spot right now. So.
I'll just mention that Cannon's also the president of YGender, youth support group for gender diverse people in Victoria. That's which work she does. That's amazing. I'm just a first-year social work student. It's been 10 years doing really crappy jobs, and then and about 2 or 3 years just not doing anything, just being in complete depression. So I feel like I can really do things, and I've got hope for my music career and playing roller derby, and just I can see a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, my future, I just want to, be a girl, have a man, get married, have kids, normal life, So that's just my life. I just want to live normal, be a normal girl,
I'd like to get blended. My life I've been like the kid who's like, had taunts and stuff thrown at him, and rocks thrown at me, and punches thrown at me, and bottles thrown at me, and I just want to be able to be the person that can walk past and miss all that. I just want to eventually find happiness with a man or a woman, whoever my heart falls for, and hopefully just be able to, like, through living a normal life, show people that it is normal. There's nothing weird or different about the way I live as a human, because I'm still a human. I still have the capacity to love and to hate and to eat and to sleep and to breathe air and do everything else that other people can do. And so I just, I'm working in fashion at the moment. I'd love to be able to move up the ranks of where I'm at, and if people come into my store and girls go, why do boys always get the better clothes? I go, you know what, the boys' clothes aren't going to tell you you can't wear them because you have a vagina. You can put them on. We put the gender on it. It's okay. If I can open up some people's minds to the fact that we just label shit because we need to be able to identify it for something, and that we can label it as something different if we choose to, then I'll feel like I did some good. So hopefully I can, do that a little bit, even if it is just in regards to people's wardrobes.
Well, I'm not actually a youth, I'm just the youngest intersex person. Maybe, I don't know. But I actually spent a really long period of my life on the dole. I'm actually still on the dole. I'm underemployed. I work a lot for free. But my general distaste towards any type of built organisational structure that has control or power over me has sort of marginalised me out of the workforce for the rest of my life. I've tried to build countless businesses and stuff like that, but most different periods I usually crash and burn. I'll build things up and then I won't be at when I'm in a a good capacity. We build them up to a level, but they're not have that same capacity. There'd be some sort of issue, or have like a falling out with the doctor, or just like have like some depression or something like that. And then the thing that I built would fall over, and that's kind of happened a lot. But at the moment, things are kind of really awesome. I've had a really gunning year. Energy levels are really high. I'm really enthusiastic, and a lot of little things that I've spread out actually have all come together. And things like this, you know, like these meetings is really inspiring. Makes you feel like there's a lot of the good work is getting done, and there's more to come. Yeah.
There was the one question, someone from around the back, I had a minute.
Yeah, I was going to ask, you being like younger trans people, what do you want? Do you have satisfied for the help that you're getting right now? And what could you want more from from organisations such as this?
I personally would like to see education introduced into accepting people. I was 6 years old the first time I was teased for being called a transsexual. Children, I notice, I always relate the way that people are treated because of their sexuality or gender, the way that people are treated because of the colour of their skin. You're born that way, you can't choose how you're born. You can't choose who your parents were or what they created. You have to live with it and accept it. And so if we can, no longer judge people, treat them a different way because of the colour of their skin, you can't do it for the way that, we feel inside in regards to relationships or personal growth. I find that younger children tend to be less judgmental when it comes towards things like race. So if you could teach them from a young age, hit them in primary school, it's okay to feel certain ways. It would, I think, inspire the future to be a brighter place. Because if you attack it early, it's not going to, kids aren't going to grow up with the discrimination. I've had little kids come into my store that have had their older siblings teach them that, that's gay, that kid's a faggot, that girl's a pussy, that boy's he can't fly off a chute because he's a girl. And if we just take away those negative connotations, it wouldn't be such a scary thing for people like us to just be approached by people in public. And also, I think that on the other side of it, I hate seeing in the media, if you see representation of a transgender person or intersex person, it was Cartman's mum in South Park when I was growing up, if you're a hermaphrodite, you're a Cartman's mum and stuff like that, and it's always negative, it's always a joke. Why can't we just see a transgender person on a television show where their gender isn't an issue? We know that they're a transgender person, but that's not their focus of their storyline. Why can't we just see them being normal? Because we are normal people, we do live normal lives, and it's not always the focus of our lives. We do have other things going on. I'd just like to see education in that way of just, it's normal. It's not a weird, bizarre, bad thing.
I'm pretty sure Ace covers it, he said a few things that I was going to say, about the education-wise, starting at school, so the next generation aren't as homophobic as the generation is now. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that, I think that's the most important thing is cultural awareness and education through negative cultures. That's where stigmatization comes from, that's where mental health issues come from, that's where isolation comes from. If we can just change people's attitudes, cultural attitudes, and changing structural inequities that support that. I guess it really goes hand in hand, but that's definitely the most important thing is the education and awareness is to be improved.
I guess in terms of the goals of health, everyone should have, diversity is much more natural than any binary view of anything, and it's all around us. future as well. And everyone should have the opportunity to feel good in their own skin.
We got it covered. Question, I think we have. Then I reckon we need to give it up. Go wild.